is up, you guys? It's me, Lauren, and welcome to my newest video essay. I'm so excited to bring this one to you. I'm so excited to explain and go over this board. I'm just genuinely excited to be here. I'm very excited to be here. So let's just get started with the video. So today's topic we're going to be talking about is yet another childhood TV show that I was obsessed with, called House of Anubis. It was in the title, I know, but we're going to be talking about House of Anubis today, and bear with me because this show is all about the mystery and less about the characters, which is what My Babysitter's a Vampire was about, and less about celebrities and made-up drama, which was what my driver's license video was about. So we're going to take a Mike's Mike approach from the PLL video and focus on the main mystery that happened in House of Anubis, which is why we only see so many people on here, but I'll explain that in a second. Before we get into the structure and this board behind me, let's address what House of Anubis was. House of Anubis tells the story of 8 students who go to a boarding school in England. Our whole story is going to start when our main character, Nina, this is Nina right here, arrives at school the same day Joy leaves. A whole mystery is going to unfold that we are going to go over. I cannot wait to tell you about it. The background of the show is pretty simple. I think it originally began as a German show of the same name, just in German, and it was a hit. So Nickelodeon signed more deals to have more shows. I think there's like tons that you can find in different languages, but the one we're going to be talking about is the one that showed in the UK and here in America and probably Canada, House of Anubis with these people. This show is very interesting because, different from a lot of other Nickelodeon shows, this had a soap operatic run, which means that they aired an episode daily. And in the UK, they aired them in 11-minute segments, but here in America, we aired 2 to 5 episodes, 5 being for the season premiere and the season finale, and 2 for regular episodes. So if you're ever looking this up and you're wondering why there's so many freaking episodes, it's because they were airing in 11-minute segments. When I first originally was going to tackle this beast, it said that it had like 90 episodes in season 1 alone. And I was like, I cannot go over 90 videos in one video. But that's not true because Paramount has them put together. So, slay. Also, I want to put out a quick disclaimer for any of you House of Anubis fans. I'm not going to be talking about anything that doesn't involve Nina. If it doesn't involve Miss Nina Martin, played by Natalia Ramos, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't care about those seasons. I grew up absolutely loving the first 2 seasons of House of Anubis, and then season 3 came along and Nina wasn't in it, and I was like, okay, and I remember none of it. In fact, when I was looking up things to say about this video, I found out that Eloise from Bridgerton is in it, and I did not know that because I do not remember those seasons. So we're only going to be talking about the Nina seasons, season 1 and season 2, and I also should say this before the end, it might be a while until you get season 2. I am moving next month. So I will be in a situation where I can't film and won't have time to. Can't because I'll be living with a roommate in the same room and won't have time to because I will be working a lot. So enjoy this while it lasts because it's going to be a while until I upload another one. I grabbed my wand. Let's go over what we have here. We have a lot of things hidden. We have people, we have objects, we have places. What are they all for? Some of these people are you going to learn as time goes on, as explaining their identity is very important to the plot as it goes on. These will be revealed over time because we're building up to something. Because remember, it's a mystery. So everything that these red lines connect to means that someone had that connection with either that person or that object at some point. This was one of the hardest things I ever made, and actually this is not the original. It fell off this wall, and I know my mom is ready to take it down, but I won't let her. But now I'm filming this and I will. So we have lots of things to reveal, lots of connections to explain, and I'm so excited to explain them to you. And then we're gonna have something over here too. We're gonna have a little something over there, but you're gonna have to wait for that because it's not happening yet. So now that we've went over this whole structure board, let's talk about the characters of House of Anubis. So first and foremost, we have our main character, Miss Nina Martin. Nina Martin is American, and don't you forget it, because anytime anyone talks about Nina, you're gonna talk about how American she is. Hi, I'm Nina. I'm from America. I'm American. Next thing you know, you're going to be saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Shut the fuck up, Nina. I'm kidding. Please don't. I love you. But I love Nina. She is the leader. She is smart. She is clever. She's everything you need to be a leader. Nina is everything. She is the main character of main characters because technically all of the housemates are considered main characters because they are all given their own title sequence. Even though some of them don't deserve it. Next, we have my fave, my king, Fabian Rudder. If there is a man with brown hair and a bowl cut, it's my weakness. It's my weakness. Before I loved Ethan from My Babysitter's a Vampire, I loved Fabian Rudder from the House of Anubis. I love him so much. Anyways, and I love him even more after watching this now that I remember most of it. So Fabian is the smart guy of the Anubis house. He is described as geek chic by Nina in her diary. He's literally everything. He's also the most expressive actor in this show. And I have the photos to prove it. And I can't wait to show them at certain times if I remember. Next, I should have explained her before Fabian, but we'll just go with this. Next is Miss Joy Mercer. She's our main mystery of the show, as this season is tagged with Where's Joy? Joy is described as a popular girl and a walking soap opera. She is well connected to many of the Anubis house members as she stayed in the Anubis house. We don't really get much off of her because she is missing for most of this season. Next, we have Patricia Williamson, best friend of Joy Mercer. She is kind of like the mean girl. She's very persistent, kind of a little sneaky. I do like Patricia. I don't want to say many bad things about her, but I do like Patricia. She's also described as a goth pixie at some point. So take with that what you will. Next, we have Victor. He is the caretaker of Anubis house. He will be important. He is kind of stuck up, kind of stingy, and the kids thought he was once a vampire. That'll tie back into the story later. Just you wait. We have Miss Amber Millington. I also really love Amber. I don't think there's a single character I hate in this show. Actually, yes, there is. I'll get to them. Anyways, Miss Amber Millington. She is wonderful. She is the fashionista. She's kind of ditzy. She's got the dumb blonde thing kind of going. But Amber is more than she appears. And you will see that throughout the show. It's one thing I love about her. She may seem dumb on the outside, but that girl, when she gets thinking for a little bit, ooh, she can open a can of worms. I love her, love her, love her. I have my least favorite character, Mick. He's the athlete of Anubis house. We're not going to mention him enough. Here he is. Literally, we're not going to mention him enough. He is only here to create romantic tension for the people who did not give a fuck about the mystery. And if any romantic tension was getting my attention, it was Fabina. I love Fabina. Just like I loved Sethan or Ethera, I love Fabina, except this one's actually canon. We have Mara. I like Mara. Too bad they don't use her. She's the smartest girl in Anubis house. She's very kind. She's very sweet. We will not talk about her a lot either. She's also there for a romantic plot, and I wish they wouldn't downgrade her to that. And I'm hoping in season 2 she is used for more. But I felt I had to mention them because they will be mentioned at some point in the plot retelling. So remember them, but not too strongly. And then next we have Jerome Clark. Jerome is a manipulative king. He is charming, he's clever, he's sneaky, he's conniving. He's going to be playing pranks. And it doesn't matter who you are. You could be his best friend. He does not give a fuck. If he can get out on top, he's going to. Jerome will be important to our plot. I somewhat like Jerome. He kind of grew on me. And the second to last character we have is Alfie. Alfie is the class clown of Anubis house. He likes to play a little prank, except he is not as mean with it as Jerome is. Him and Jerome are best friends and they are roommates. Alfie is a pretty good character. I do like Alfie. And then last but not least, we have Trudy. She will also not be brought up as often, but she will be brought up here and there. So just remember her. She is like the house mother. She cooks for them. She cleans for them. She does their laundry. They love her. And that's all the Anubis characters. Now let's get into the plot of House of Anubis Season 1. We start with Miss Nina Martin arriving at Anubis house. And when she goes up to the door over here to like knock to be let in, The door mysteriously opens on its own. She walks in and is kind of like impressed with the house. And when she turns around, Mr. Sneaky, Mr. Quiet, Victor has shown up and he's like, "Do you even knock?" And she's like, "That's just how doors work in America." By the way, I cut like the first part of her arriving to the train station. She mentioned she's American like 12 times in this span. I'm not joking. Nina, we get it. Anyways, after grilling her about opening the door of Anubis' house, Victor then grills Nina as to why she was 2 weeks late to arriving into the school year. That's important. She then explains that she didn't know about the scholarship, and so she would have been there sooner had she known about the scholarship money. So then Trudy comes out and she's like, "Quit scaring that girl off." And Victor and Trudy then begin to show Nina around Anubis' house. As they're walking around, they get into like the living room, dining room area, and Nina is so drawn to this painting of a couple. They were the original couple of the house. They're the Frobisher Smythes, keep that in mind. And they are revealed to have died tragically. Victor says that. Why he said it that way, no one knows. Because Trudy's like, "Don't scare her. Like, quit. You're being weird." Oh my god, yo. As they're leading her around, Victor then tells Nina that there are 3 places that are completely off limits to all of the kids in Anubis' house: his office, the attic, and the cellar. So you can bet your ass these 8 kids are going to be getting up in these off limits places. Nina is then led into her room, which already is occupied by somebody. That somebody is Patricia. And she sees a picture of 2 girls hanging on the wall, a picture of Patricia and Joyce. And when she's like, "Oh my god, who's that?" Victor's like, "No, no one, no one." And he takes the picture and he like crumbles it up in his hand and puts it in his pocket. I forgot to add this into my script, but earlier there was a picture of all of the Anubis kids hanging up in the house. And when Nina was like, "Who's that?" Trudy began to explain, and Victor's like, "No one. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." He was also really weird about asking if Joy's room was cleared out because he was like, "Is it ready?" And Trudy was like, "Yeah, they cleared it out this morning, but I don't know why it was in such haste." And he was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Shut up." So while Nina moves into her room, Joyce.
Hey, it's editing Lauren. So I was on some bug shit because I record this in the middle of the night. I called her Joyce. I'm aware her name is Joy, and I called her Joyce multiple times. So understand, I'm well aware of doing that. But I also clown me in the comments because that's kind of ridiculous. And I think at this point, when I'm editing this video in, I've done it 2 or 3 times. I'm gonna do it more. It's crazy. Anyways, eat me up if you want to.
Is at school and is pulled out by Mr. Sweet, this is their principal, because someone is here to see her. She then leaves the school to get in a black SUV that takes her away. And that's the last we're going to see Joy for a while. So, bye bye, Pookie. After Joy leaves, Victor calls somebody on the phone and he's like, "Is it done?" And he's like, "Yes, don't worry, our friends won't be a problem." So we already know that this man is sus in this whole disappearance of Joy. Also, who is the someone who picked her up? Why is it so suspicious? Why are we not revealing anything? Huh? 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 As the day goes on, Patricia, who I said was Joy's best friend, gets suspicious that Joy never returned from meeting with the someone that Sweet called her out to meet with. So when she asks, I believe it's Jerome and Alfie, about if they've seen her, they say no, but maybe she headed back to Anubis' house. And Patricia says, "Oh, yeah, you're right," and heads back to Anubis' house to see if Joy is in their room and walks in to find Nina sitting in Joy's spot, like, "Hey, I'm Nina. I'm from America." And Patricia's immediately like, "What the fuck is this?" No. And she's like, "What have you done with Joy's things? Where did Joy go? What are you doing?" And Nina's like, "I don't know. Everything was cleared out when I got here." And while Patricia's like throwing her stuff around, she finds Joy's like stuffed bunny rabbit and her cell phone, and she's like, "Yeah, right. She wouldn't leave without this." And Victor hears this commotion because Patricia's also throwing Nina's shit out in the hall, and he's like, "What is going on?" And Patricia is like, "Where's Joy?" He then tells Patricia that Joy's parents came and pulled her out of school and that he would return the rabbit and the cell phone for Joy. And Patricia's like, yeah, right, you better. That night is the first dinner with like Nina joining the whole Anubis gang. And though the others aren't being as mean as Patricia is, they are not very welcoming of Miss Nina. And because Jerome and Alfie are annoying, they start a food fight, and Patricia takes the opportunity to pour water on Nina and then go, "What do you know about Joy?" And Nina says, "I literally know nothing." But Patricia does not believe her. I would also like to note that my King Fabian was like, "Hey, hey, how y'all doing?" Like, this man has been in love with this woman since she ran into him in the first scene. Here's the scene. After dinner, Patricia goes to Victor and says, "Give me Joy's home phone number." And he's like, "We can't give out that information." And she's like, "Well, right, you better send that stuff back to her quick then." I don't know why I keep doing that accent. I'm sorry, they're British. And he says, "Yeah, I'll get onto it, like, go away." And then he destroys the cell phone and burns the buddy in the photo. This man could not be any more suspicious. Like, look at him, he's untrustworthy. If this photo isn't good, here's this photo. Like, he's untrustworthy. Like, do not trust this man. That night, when Patricia is in the bathroom brushing her teeth, she notices a message on the mirror that says, "Help me, Joy." She runs out of the bathroom to go get Mara and Amber, but while she's out, Nina walks in and wipes the message off the mirror, not seeing it. Patricia yet again accuses her of knowing what happened with Joy. And everyone's like, "No, we believe you." We believe you. So poor Nina yet again feels alone and isolated because not only does Patricia already think she's involved, erasing the message made Patricia even double down on it. So the next morning, instead of having breakfast with the Anubis house, Nina decides to skip out and go to school early. But while she's skipping out to go to school early, she comes across this old this old lady. This old lady. And she's like, "That's my house. I used to live there." And Nina's like, "Oh, no, it's a school, ma'am. It's a school." And she's like, "No, no, 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 no. That's my house. Like, I know it. I used to live there." Nina tries to, like, usher Sarah into that house or into somewhere where it's warmer to, like, find out where she's from. And Sarah's like, "No, no, no, no. I can't go in there. He's waiting. He's always waiting." The illustrious he is going to be brought up many times. So hold on to that because we're going to get many warnings about he. And we're just gonna have to wait to find out who he is. So Nina ends up taking Sarah back to these old people's home, and when they walk in, the lady's like, "Oh, Emily, there you are," and Nina's like, "Emily?" She said her name was Sarah, and Sarah's like, "Shut the fuck up, bitch." And Nina notices like a drawing of Anubis' house, and she's like, "Hey, I go to school there. She said she lived there." And the lady's like, "We actually don't know her history, but I mean, she could, but she just came in here with little to no history. We'll explore history." Miss Sarah's history more and more as the season goes on. Trust. I should also reveal that Alfie's the one who wrote the message on the bathroom mirror, so there was never a message from Joy. At school, Patricia decides to confront Sweet, again, their principal, Mr. Sweet, about what happened with Joy, and he's like, actually, her parents called her out of school." And Patricia's like, "Then why did you say someone yesterday?" And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "You said someone. Why did you not say your parents are here?" And he's like, "Girl, I don't have time for this shit. Go to class." Then also tells her that Joy will get in touch if her in her own time and if she wants to. He's basically saying like maybe she doesn't want to contact you. Patricia, feeling defeated, leaves his office and notices like a school portrait of all of the kids who attend this school, which is a very small number. Not a lot of kids are going to this school. And by the way, I don't have the name of it. They revealed it in the game. I don't remember the name. They never say it in the show. And she's like, "Huh. I swear Joy was next to me in this picture." She's like, Mara, come here. Wasn't Joy in this picture?" And she's like, "I thought she was sick that day." And Patricia's like, "Mm-mm. See, no, I know she was next to me. I know it." Like, Patricia literally looks crazy. She's in her crazy era this time, you guys. It is so bad for Patricia these few episodes. Like, oh my god, this poor girl. Sarah and Nina then go into Sarah's room at the house because they're going to have a cup of tea. And Sarah is so excited. She's like, "OMG, I knew you were going to come." And gives her this locket, this eye shaped locket. And she's like, "It's yours now. I'm going to pass you the secret. Keep this locket a secret. It'll keep you safe." Sarah then reveals that there is treasure hidden inside Anubis' house and that Nina is the only one who has the power to find it and protected, but she must be careful. It says Nina has to be careful because there is danger in the house and that it is dark and evil. And when Nina's like, you're literally crazy, Sarah's like, no, 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 you know me. So you know me. And then she says Nina, and Nina's like, because Nina never said her name to Sarah. She never introduced herself. She's just merely this nice girl who helped her find her way back to the old people's home. And then Sarah, after calling Nina by her name, warns of the black bird. That night, after receiving this locket, Nina's like looking at it in her bedroom and she opens it to find a portrait of a little girl who we don't know. Still on her bullshit, Patricia decides that she's going to plan a prank with Jerome and Alfie to initiate Nina into the Anubis house. And she's like, hey, Nina, I've been so mean. I'm so sorry. At this point, also, I should note that Fabian is friends with her because he was like, she probably didn't come to breakfast because of all of us. Like, we're really mean. And everyone was like, yeah, I kind of agree, but Patricia's not. Her initiation is to sneak up into the attic of the house where they are banned and bring something down. But she needs to get the spare key from Victor's office, another place where they're banned. And Nina's like, yeah, all right, I'll fucking do it. And Fabian's like, why? It's like not even real. And she's like, but I need to earn their respect. I need to earn their respect and I need them to know that I'm not afraid. So the initiation is set for the next evening, but the evening that they're at currently, that night, they have to get the key from Victor's office. They're able to successfully distract Victor when he like drags Alfie off to wax the floors, and Nina gets the key from his office. However, that doesn't mean she got out unscathed. She did like fall and hold his little raven. Here's his little raven. His name is Corbier. He's like holding Corbier, and he's like, whoa, you better have a good explanation. She's like, I'm just admiring it. And she gets away with the key, and it kind of wins the approval of Jerome because he is a bitch. But Patricia's like, fuck you. That's not going to win me over easily. Next day at school, also the night of the actual initiation, Patricia goes to Sweet and she's like, yeah, right. What's wrong with that fucking picture? Why is Joy not in it? And he's like, girly pop. Don't ask me because that's not how it is. That photo's never been altered. After that conversation, Sweet has a conversation with Miss Andrews. Here's Miss Andrews. I might call her Daphne because they frequently call her Daphne, and that's how I usually type her name in my script. He's having a meeting with Miss Andrews, and he's like, yeah, I don't know if this whole Joy thing was handled well. And she's like, nah, don't worry. They'll forget about her soon. And he's like, no, 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 no. Patricia has noticed the photo, therefore confirming to us, the audience, that yes, they did indeed change the photo. Anyways, cut to that night. It's the night of the initiation, and all of the Anubis house members are there, and they're like, okay, yeah, let's see this girl get initiated into our house. Nina unlocks the attic with the key that she stole from Victor's, and as soon as she goes in, Patricia slams the door closed on her and is like, yeah, right, what do you know about Joy? And Nina's like, I don't fucking know anything. And at that point, these loud ass kids, which is what they are known for, they can never ever be quiet. The fact that they did anything ever during this show amazes me because all they do is be loud constantly. Anyways, Nina's like rattling the door trying to get out. Patricia's like, tell me what the fuck you know. Fabian's like, this is getting ridiculous. Mara's like, yeah, I agree, this is stupid. And they're like, let her out, let her out. But Patricia's like, no, 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 no. Not until she tells me where Joy is. And Nina turns around and she's like, oh my God, you guys, wait, there's something in here. Please let me out. But Patricia won't budge. And because they're being so fucking loud, they wake up Victor. And Victor's like, what the fuck is going on? And Patricia's like, we heard mice. And he's like, okay, everyone go back to sleep. So he goes to venture up into the attic to see if he finds any mice. The attic where Nina is and isn't supposed to be. Now we're on to episode 2. All of that happened in episode 1. Victor goes up to the attic to see if he can find anything. And when he goes up there, he does actually find a mouse. And he's like, yeah, right, okay, cool. We find out that in Nina's haste to go find a secret hiding spot, she stumbled in somehow, some way upon this secret room. Amber and Fabian then go to Patricia's room and they're like, give us the fucking key. And she's like, actually, I threw it out the window. And they're like, Patricia, we cannot strand this woman in here all night. Patricia doesn't give a fuck. She literally doesn't give a fuck. She does not care. Is unimportant to her. She It's completely irrelevant. She goes back to sleep. She like doesn't care. She's like, we'll get it in the morning. It's in the bush. Who cares? So now Fabian and Amber are worried that Nina is going to be locked in there all night. Nina is still stuck in this secret room though. And she's like, how do I get out of here? And she starts like touching the wall and comes across this circle with this specific outline. And then she's like, huh. And then this necklace, this little red part, starts glowing. So she puts the necklace in and it opens, breaking her out of the secret room. So it turns out when she was like running in her haste, I'll leave the scene in. After she's out of the room that the locket opens, she decides to open it again. And when she opens it again, she sees a pair of eyes and gets freaked out. She's like, gotta head back down. So Fabian and Amber are outside the door and they're like, Nina, 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 Nina. And then the door opens and she's like, I picked it with one of my mini bobby pins that I wear the entire time. And they're like, yes, Slay, you're so cool. We love you. The next morning, Nina arrives down to breakfast and everyone's like, yes, Slay. And Patricia's like, actually, no, because she didn't complete her initiation because she was supposed to bring something back from the attic. And Nina reveals that she did. And they're like, yes, we love you. So now everybody but Patricia likes Nina. And Nina has made a note to herself that she wants to go back up to the attic to investigate what the pair of eyes were. So as her and Fabian walk together to school, because remember, this man likes her and I'm a big Fabina shipper. And he's like, do you fancy if I walk to school with you? And she's like, yes. And as they're walking past the bushes where their window is, he like dives into the bush to get the key and he's like, we should return this to Victor. And she's like, actually, no, I'm going to keep it because I want to go back up there. And he's like, why? And she's like, because I do. And he tries to press her about it in school and sees her looking at this locket. And he's like, yo, what's that? And she's like, nothing, loser. She's very protective of it because remember, Sarah told her to keep it a secret. She has to keep it a secret because there's danger in the house. She also says that she wants to go back up to the attic because she thinks that it might have something to do with Miss Joy's disappearance. And at school, Patricia notices that Joy's locker is cleaned out. So like Patricia is very obsessed with this because Joy's her best friend, but also notice how literally no one in the whole school, mostly Anubis house, gives a fuck that Joy disappeared. They're like, yeah, she's gone. Like, I would think it was too a little suspicious if I came back and all of her shit was gone except for 3 things that are very important to her and her locker was completely cleared out. Like, I know she didn't have time to clear it out. So, like, everything is suspicious about it. I don't know. I sympathize with you, Patricia, because everyone thinks you're crazy and you're not. Justice for you. And remember when I mentioned that Fabian was like, what is that locket? He then, in a Fabina moment, he's like, fine, I'm going up to the attic with you because you can trust me. And y'all, the amount of Fabina moments we have in like the first 2 episodes alone, I can't help but ship them. I love them so much. Patricia begins to get suspicious of Sweet, and in the girls' bathroom next to Sweet's office, they have like a little way to snoop in on their conversations. So Miss Patricia decides that she is going to be a sneaky Sally and snoop in on a conversation that he is having with Daphne. He expresses, and I mean Sweet expresses that he feels that this Joy thing was done in very quick haste, which has left it kind of messy. And there was really no need to because the betrayer is long dead. Daphne said that it was a Victor's advice that they get rid of Joy as fast as they can, but she agrees with Sweet that all of this was handled very poorly. Sweet then brings up the issue of Patricia being super duper persistent about figuring out what's going on. Daphne says she can't find out the truth because there is too much at stake. So now we're kind of confirming that not only Victor, but the principal and another teacher at this school are all in this disappearance for Miss Joy. So that night, it is the night of the Fabina attic date. It might not actually be a date, but in my mind, it's a date. In this whole first season, they're dating. From this moment on, they're a couple. Anyways, they go up to the attic. Nina uses this locket to open the secret compartment again, and it opens to reveal a portrait of a girl, which Phoebe gets scared of. And she's like, I won't tell anyone you screamed like a girl. Anyways, for some reason, they take it off the wall, I guess, to further look at it. And Nina makes the comparison of the girl in the locket and the girl in the portrait, which are the same girl. And while Fabian's looking at it, she's like, oh my God, look at what's on the back. And it's these hieroglyphics. And they're like, what could that mean? The hieroglyphics are of a bed, stairs, and tally marks. Then decides after finding those hieroglyphics that it's okay to tell Fabian about the treasure in the house and how she wants to start pursuing it. They then plan to go talk to Miss Sarah tomorrow. Next day at school, Patricia implores Mara to distract Mr. Sweet so she can steal Joyce's personal file and get her home phone number because it's very weird that Joy hasn't called her back at this point. And she's able to successfully get the file. However, because she did it in such haste, she left the key to the file cabinet in the key lock, which leads Sweet to calling Victor to say, hey, her file's gone. And he's like, no, 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 no. Don't worry. I'll find it. So when all of the Anubis kids come home from school that day, a bag check is implored. Victor returns the bags with no word of if he found anything, but he did in fact remove the file from Patricia's bag. Mara's like, maybe you won't get in trouble, but Patricia thinks it's actually because Victor doesn't want to talk about the Joy situation with her, and we see that Victor actually burned the file. So he's a pyromaniac, honestly, and I relate because I love fire too. He's literally learning everything about Joy. They're trying to wipe Joy off the face of this earth. Why? Where are you, girl? Where did you go? Trisha then decides to ask Trudy who cleared out Joy's room, and Trudy's like, I think it was her parents. I don't know. I've never seen them. So Patricia is even more suspicious because who are these random people clearing out Joy's room if not her parents? Trudy then also reveals that she found out that Joy was leaving the morning of her departure. And Patricia's like, yeah, that's really suspicious. What about that Nina girl? And Trudy's like, actually, Nina was supposed to be here all semester long. It's just that the money got delayed. It got held up in like the government or parliament or something. So that's why Nina was so delayed. And Patricia's like, oh. So then she's kind of starts to feel bad about how she's been treating Nina because Nina was supposed to be there all along. At lunch, Nina and Fabian sneak away to meet with Sarah. And she's like, hey, Sarah, what's going on with that treasure? And she's like, yeah, treasure, you gotta find it, but don't let him find it. Don't let him find it. So then Nina shows her the locket and she's like, hey, who's the girl in this locket? And Sarah's like, kind of looks like you, doesn't it? And she's like, no. And because Fabian and Nina are dating in my mind at this point, Fabian tries to walk into the room to like enjoy the moment and talk to Sarah and Nina as well. And Sarah's like, don't let him see it, don't let him see it, which causes a whole freak out. And then they have to stop visiting Sarah because at this point she has wore herself out by freaking out over Fabian. Patricia also sneaks off during lunch and she decides to go to the police to report Joy missing because she is so concerned about her. They're kind of skeptical, but they say that they will call and then let Patricia know if they find anything else. We then cut to Fabian and Nina. Fabiana, hey girly. And Fabian's like, you know what? It does kind of look like you. The little girl does kind of look like you. And then they both mutually agree that because Sarah had the locket, she must somehow be tied to Anubis, but they aren't quite sure how yet. And Nina then decides to theorize that the girl in the locket is Sarah, and Fabian theorizes that the blackbird that she warns about is Corbière. We then see the cop that Patricia reported Joy missing to calling Victor. He's like, hey, bruv, when these students came in, they asked about Joy. Meaning that not only are the teachers at the school a part of this whole thing, the police are too. There is literally no trustworthy adult for any of these people to trust. Nina then figures out that the hieroglyphics on the back of the painting actually are a clue to the 8th stair in Anubis' house. So her and Fabian make a plan to look under the 8th stair that night. The cop that called Victor that Patricia went to calls Patricia and he's like, yeah, she's with her family. Joy's with her family. Don't worry about it. And she's like, all right. And he's like, yeah, don't worry. She'll reach out when she can. She's just been super busy. Suspiciously that night, Patricia then receives an email for Joy, and she's basically been like, yeah, so I got pulled out of school, but I'm all right. I'm all good. And Patricia's like, it's not written in text speech, and she didn't sign it with a smiley face. And all of the house people are like, isn't it good enough that she emailed you? Like, what more could you want, girl? But Patricia, though happy, is still somewhat suspicious. The night of the stair rendezvous, aka date 3 of Fabina, and they decide to pull up the stair and find a key to what? I'll tell you later. Nina and Fabian are loud as fuck, you know, running in tandem with the Anubis kids being loud as fuck because they are always fucking loud. And Victor is like woken up. He's sleeping in his office. They're being loud as fuck. He wakes up and he goes to investigate, but because they pulled the eighth stair off and before he can catch anyone, he slips on it and twists his ankle. Because he's hurt, he like makes this loud noise. Trudy wakes up and she's like, "Oh my god, babes, let me get the first aid kit," which is locked because he somehow rubbed off on her that they needed to lock the first aid kit. And when he goes to look for the spare key in the lockbox, he notices the attic key is gone because they never put it back because they wanted to sneak into the attic again. SpaghettiOs. Victor then becomes suspicious of who is going up into the attic because the key is missing, so he decides to plant a feather on top of the door to see if it falls down so that no one would notice, to see if kids were going up there. And Fabian is like, maybe because we found this when we were a little loud and we caught Victor's attention, maybe we shouldn't go to the attic for a while. And Nina's like, nah, fuck that. I want to go figure out what this key is for. So, because Victor is going to be out tonight and there's a party happening at Anubis' house, they make a plan to go up to the attic while everyone is at the house. When the party is happening, Fabian and Nina head up to the attic but fail to notice the feather falling down from the top of the door. I'm only mentioning the mystery plot, but I should emphasize the importance of this plot because it's more character driven. But at this point, Patricia and Nina are no longer roommates. Amber and Mara got into a fight, so now Amber is roommates with Nina and Patricia is roommates with Mara. I might bring it up later depending on like roommate situation, but I just want to note that here that now Patricia and Nina are no longer roommates. Patricia is roommates with Mara and Nina is roommates with Amber. They're getting closer now. Nina and Fabian open the secret room and they end up finding these boxes. They open one of the boxes and they find multiple things, but they can't identify them. So Fabian offers to go visit his uncle, who is an antiques dealer. And one of these items we are going to have our first reveal for. Ooh. Okay, so we have reveal of item one. This is in part of the box. This is something they have to figure out with his antiques dealer uncle. So there it is. Yay! Victor comes home while the party is partying and he goes to check to see if the feather has fallen from the attic door, and it has. And he's like, okay, everybody who doesn't fucking live here, go. Get the out. So he's like, I'm gonna interrogate all of you bitches. While he's distracted, Nina is able to return the key near his office. And when he does interrogate all the Anubis members, they all say that they don't know who has the key. So while all the other Anubis members lie and say they don't know who has the key, Nina's like, yeah, it was me, because she's a terrible liar. Sometimes she lies well, most of the time she doesn't. And as soon as she says yes, all of them are like, actually, no, I have the key, showing solidarity in the house. Everything is changing. Even Patricia says that she has the key. Like, this is a big moment. This is showing that these kids are going to stick together, especially against this vampire. When Fabian suggests that they go visit his antique dealer uncle, Nina is quick to shoot it down because Sarah wants to keep this a secret. But once Fabian can't crack all the hieroglyphics on there, he's like, would you maybe reconsider, babes? And Nina relents, and they plan to go see his uncle, I believe, at lunchtime. They bring all the items that they found in the box to Fabian's uncle at lunch that day, and he's able to identify these things as wax cylinders or like phonographic cylinders, which were an old recording device that needed to be played on a specific player, which is up in the attic. However, he can't identify anything on this and he asks to keep it, but Nina says no immediately. They'll just have to figure it out on their own. After school that day, Patricia comes home and overhears Victor and Sergeant Roebuck, which is the cop that she reported Joy missing to, talking. So now she knows that everything he told her about Joy is most likely no longer true because all of the teachers are in on what's going on. She knows Victor's involved, she knows Sweet is involved, she knows Andrews is involved, and now she knows Sergeant Roebuck is involved. Victor assures him that everything is okay and that Sergeant Roebuck's call to Patricia is keeping everything at bay. Little does he know that it's not now. Roebuck then decides to ask Victor if he really thinks the betrayer will return. It's the second time we've heard about the betrayer. Who the fuck is the betrayer? And Victor says that they cannot take any risks. Victor then ends the conversation by saying Joy is buried and that they need to plan their next gathering. After hearing what Victor and Sergeant Roebuck were talking about at the end of episode 4, we're now in episode 5, Patricia no longer wants to stay at the school and leave Anubis' house. So she calls her mother with all of the things that she knows. Joy is buried, meaning that she thinks Joy is dead and that she's very worried about herself and about Joy. She's trying to tell her mom they're in on it, but her mom won't hear a lick of it. So she decides to go to Mara next, and she tells Mara everything she's overheard from Victor, from Roebuck, thinking she's dead. And Mara is still apprehensive to believe Patricia. Patricia also reveals at this time that her mother said that Joy was sent off to an international boarding school and that Patricia should not reach out to Joy at all. Meanwhile, Fabian is in the foyer of the house. It's like this little room right here. And he drops some books and notices that all of the cutouts on the staircase look like Nina's lockets. When he brings this information to her, they kind of theorize that the Frobisher Smythes are in on this little treasure mystery because they have tons of Egyptian motifs around the house. I mean, heck, their house is named Anubis. They have a sarcophagus in the foyer. That night, they also decide that they're going to go back into the attic to see if they can listen to the cylinders that they found. Remember, I said that they found out from the uncle that the cylinders produced noise, but it needed a specific type of player that also was in the attic. When they are in the attic to listen to those cylinders, two of them only produce screams, which kind of wakes everybody in the house and begins to alert Victor, who is kind of sniffing on their trail. He doesn't know who is snooping around the house, but he's well aware after the stare and the feather, and now these random screams at night. Nina and Fabian try the third cylinder, which is completely blank, which also produces screams, so they feel like they're at a loss. They have this, which they can't figure out, and cylinders that don't produce any noise at all. And because Nina and Amber are roommates now, Amber's kind of getting a little in the know about Nina sneaking out with Fabian every night and believes that they are secretly dating because, like me, she is the number two. She will be behind me. She's the number two Fabina shipper. She wants them together so bad. And Nina kind of tries to go with this for a second, but in reality, her and Fabian are, in fact, just treasure hunting in the house, but she does kind of lie and be like, yeah, we're dating. Next day in class, Patricia is looking out the window and she is paranoid from everything that has been happening. And I think Alfie and Jerome played another prank on her, leading her to be even more paranoid of everything going on around her. And she sees a man outside the window. It is this man. I wasn't going to point him out, but it is this man. She sees this man outside the window and freaks out in the middle of class, alerting her teacher, who is this guy. His name is Jason, or Mr. Winkler. He is new. This is like his first year at the Anubis school. That's what I'm calling it from now on. He is new at this Anubis school. And because Patricia knows that Victor, Sweet, and Daphne are in on the whole Joy disappearance, she decides to go to Mr. Winkler about what is going on. She tells him about the photo, about the words that are being said, the cop, her locker, and her room. And he believes her. He's the first adult to actually believe her. It's quite crazy. Even Trudy, who is the most trustful so far, does not believe anything suspicious is going on. She just thinks everything is weird. Mr. Winkler actually believes Patricia when she's talking about the conspiracy around Joy's disappearance. Nina sneaks into the bathroom during like a passing period to try to figure out this hieroglyphic thing and is caught by Amber and basically comes true about everything that they're doing, about the puzzle, the locket, Sarah, and everything. And Amber wants in. She wants to join in on the treasure hunting. So now instead of just a team of Nina and Fabian, we now have a trio of Amber, Nina, and Fabian, which is like my favorite trio in this entire show. We see a few trios here and there. Nina, Amber, and Fabian, top tier. Now with Amber in on the know of the treasure hunting, she joins them that night to go listen to the cylinders again. I don't exactly remember how he figures this out, but Fabian oils up the machine that they use to play the cylinders, and it actually works this time. And the first cylinder that they decide to play is voiced by a little girl. In this recording, this little girl talks about how her parents are about to leave for Egypt again, and they're going to be leaving her alone with him. Remember when I mentioned him and he, this ever looming figure? He is back again, and this little girl, who allegedly has lived in the house because we found the cylinders in the attic, is scared to be left alone with him while her parents go to Egypt. She also reveals that she is scared to be left alone in Anubis' house with the man because she doesn't know what will happen to her. But before they can get any more information, Amber gets freaked out and knocks something over, alerting Victor, which means they have to leave the attic. That same night, Patricia is having a nightmare about Joy's disappearance, and when she wakes up from that nightmare, the man from the window, this man, is standing in the doorway of her room in Anubis' house. They end up calling the police because she screams, which alerts Victor and Trudy. And of course, if anyone's going to show up, it's going to be the cop who is in on this whole thing, Sergeant Roebuck. And he basically assures Patricia that it was all a prank and she shouldn't worry about it, which is crazy. Remember when I said in Amber's character profile that she was more than meets the eye? Yeah, her first amazing suggestion comes now. During the day, she's talking to Nina and she realizes her MP3 player can actually record stuff. So she's like, how about instead of us always going to the attic, we go up to the attic, record the cylinders on my MP3 so we can listen whenever and wherever. It's truly a great idea. Fabian and Nina are floored by it. Again, I love Amber. She's a great character. If people stopped underestimating her, they would realize that she actually slays and she is so incredibly smart. Amber also believes that there might be a treasure or a clue somewhere in one of the panels by the house, just like they found that box that had all of the cylinders and this in it. And she begins to test out her theory as she goes around Anubis' house, tapping on all of the walls to hear if they are hollow. Jason, Mr. Winkler, visits Patricia while she's staying home from school after her whole freakout with the man who showed up in her doorway at night. And though he's kind of apprehensive to believe her, he really, really, really wants to help her. The vibe I kind of got was that he sees somebody who's truly struggling and truly asking somebody for help, and he feels that he's the only one who can be that because she told him that no, their teacher is willing to help her. Jason then decides to do the stupidest, dumbest thing ever and go to Daphne, aka Miss Andrews, about his worries about Patricia. And she basically brushes him off and tells him that Patricia has a very vivid imagination and that she's just kind of losing it after Joy has left. For some reason, Patricia thinks that a walk in the woods near Anubis' house is going to help her calm her mind, and when she is on the walk in that woods, she finally encounters this man in person. It ends up scaring her so much that he actually doesn't get to talk to her, but this is like their first encounter of many encounters, and the first one where she actually like kind of is confronted with somebody who's like been soft stalking her this entire episode. Amber, like I said, has resorted to knocking on every panel in the house, and she's knocking on the walls in her and Nina's room, and she ends up being able to peel back the wallpaper to find tally marks and a message that says, "Help me, Sarah Frobisher Smythe." And Nina theorizes that Sarah Frobisher Smythe is this Sarah? Because remember, she had the locket which is connected to the house, and she also said that she lived in Anubis' house. So now this connection is kind of a little more clearer. Sarah might have lived at Anubis' house at one point. In an effort to figure out why Sarah was so scared of the illustrious him, they go back to the attic to listen to the cylinders and record them. And she basically says that she wishes her parents could come back, but she knows they can't because of a not so accident. She literally says, "I know he did it. He murdered them." Again, this he, we don't know who this he is. He's an illustrious looming figure that Sarah has been warning us about ever since we first saw her. While taking out the trash, Mr. Winkler actually finds the back part of Joy's broken cell phone, and that kind of confirms his belief in Patricia completely. Again, this evidence hasn't really existed. It's just Patricia noticing things out of the ordinary. But we know that Victor broke Joy's phone and threw it away instead of sending it to her. So now Mr. Winkler actually has concrete proof that something potentially bad could have happened to Joy and that Patricia was right all along. Nina and Amber then decide that they need to visit Sarah to see if she can give any more insight on who the little girl on the recording is. And Sarah's kind of sleeping when they go in. And when she wakes up, she looks at Nina and she calls her the one with the power. Nina tries to ask Sarah if she's the little girl on the recording or who the little girl on the recording is. And when Nina brings up the murder of the little girl on the recording's parents, she then quotes this: "Man who kills, he wants to stay forever. He wants to tip the scales of life." And then directly quotes one of the cylinders, confirming that she is, in fact, Sarah Frobisher-Smythe, the little girl of Anubis house. Mr. Winkler then decides to meet up with Patricia to basically show her the phone and be like, yeah, I actually believe you. I think this is a very real theory that you have going on, and I genuinely want to help you. So she tells him about the photo, the class photo of all the students that she believes Joyce was in, that Joyce is magically removed from. And while Mr. Winkler is looking at it, he notices a stray hand that is not Patricia's. It could potentially be Joyce. After visiting Sarah, Nina and Amber take what they know to Fabian, basically telling him that they know Sarah is Sarah Frobisher-Smythe from the recordings and the girl who lived at Anubis house, the daughter of the Frobisher-Smythes. And in an effort to kind of make camaraderie and like have this little treasure hunting mission be like a super real thing, Amber suggests that they start a club called Subuna. And this is my favorite thing ever. And I'm going to put something up real quick. Okay, now over here we have the Sabuna members. I don't think you can read that, but we have our Sabuna members. We have Amber, Fabian, and Nina. So that's exciting. This is my favorite thing ever. By the way, Sabuna is Anubis backwards. Another thing that Miss Amber thought of. Again, more than meets the eye. She's literally everything, and I'm so obsessed with her. Anyways, back to the plot line of figuring out Joyce's disappearance. Mr. Winkler calls the photographer who originally took the school photo and asks for another copy of the original photo. That original photo actually does reveal that Joy was edited out, so Patricia was not crazy this entire time. We knew that for a fact, but now Mr. Winkler knows that, and sooner or later, Patricia will know that. That night, the official Sabuna initiation happens, and that means that Amber, Fabian, and Nina all meet up in the woods and burn something that is super important to them and pledge their and basically just pledge that they're going to protect the secrets of Anubis house and the treasure that they're going to find. And as they're leaving, Fabian goes to throw his bag over his shoulder, which is holding this puzzle piece, which falls out to reveal a riddle. It's our second reveal. So the riddle is, when daytime ends at midday, through tears of glass the eye shall see. I believe it's the next day now, and Patricia actually finally meets and speaks with this man, the man who's been following her this entire time, who reveals that he is a private investigator. And he goes by the name Renee Zeldman, and that he wants to help Patricia find Joy. He also reveals that he does think Joy is. What the heck? Renee also reveals that he thinks Joy is in great danger, but he thinks that he and Patricia working together can help find her and save her. All he needs from Patricia is a picture of Joy so he can identify her and help find her easier. A kind of B plot that's going to intertwine with this is that the school's hosting like this Parents' Day that the kids have to work. I promise it'll be important. I wouldn't have mentioned it if I hadn't. And Mr. Winkler finally goes to Patricia with the photo of Joy, and basically Patricia's like, yes, so we're gonna confront them. We're gonna, yeah. And Mr. Winkler's like, no. Like, we have to have the upper hand. He wants to be really sly and really cool about this, while we know our girl Patricia is dying to basically show them their shit and be like, I knew you were lying. At lunch, our lovely little Sabuna members try to figure out what this riddle means, and they kind of decide that midday means like a partial eclipse. Winkler decides that he is going to be the only one who's going to confront Mr. Sweet, the principal, and so when he takes all of this evidence about Joy missing, the phone, the photo, and everything else that Patricia has told him, Mr. Sweet tells him it's better off that he doesn't know what's going on, but if he really, really wants to know, he should go speak with this vampire man over here, Victor. So everybody say, uh-oh, uh-oh. Since they can't figure out the riddle, and them, I mean Sabuna, Amber suggests they go ask Sarah. She doesn't mean this Sarah, she means Sarah on the recordings. Maybe she gave a clue as to what this meant. Jason ends up visiting Victor at the end of the day, and Patricia kind of gets excited because she's like, yes, you're gonna like go tell him off, you're gonna go tell him the truth. And after meeting with Victor, Jason leaves the house and basically ignores Patricia. Like, he won't give her the time of day, he seems very angry, and Patricia feels saddened again because she thought she had an ally and now she believes she does not anymore. Also, having to re record the cylinders on the MP3. Alfie was doing some fuck shit. Sabuna goes back up to the attic to listen and re record them, and Amber notices this stained glass window of like a sun setting, and she says that it's really pretty. And that kind of clues in to the first part of the clue when daytime ends, giving them the thought that maybe that means sunset. It's officially Parents' Day. Remember when I said that this would intertwine with our little plot here? Our little fun little plot here? Yeah, this is where it intertwines. Fabian and Nina are tasked with working in the kitchen with our queen, Miss Trudy. They're baking something, and one of the ovens is already in commission. And when they go to use the other oven, Trudy basically reveals that this has been closed shut for like ever. Ever since she's been there, she doesn't think it can open at all. And Nina and Fabian ask to see old pictures of the house because, people used to live in it. And when Trudy gets these like photo albums out from under the stairs, she reveals that the foyer, where the kind of stairs go down, used to have a chandelier. And they figure out that the chandelier means tears of glass. So they've basically figured out the riddle that when the sun set, when daytime ends at midday, when sun begins to set, when the light shines through the tears of glass, the eye shall see, which means that they will reveal where the next clue or piece is. After losing Jason as an ally, Patricia realizes that she has no hope on anyone helping her find Joy, so she ends up calling Renee back, and they plan to meet up to further discuss what they need to do to find Joy. When they meet up, Renee basically says to her that they have to be careful of who they trust, and Patricia wholeheartedly agrees. Remember, she thought she could trust Jason, and now she can't. And when she tells him that Jason is no longer an ally, Renee basically says that he thinks that Joy is in even more danger than she was before, further scaring Patricia. And he gets out a couple of these photos and is basically like, tell me if you recognize anything. And one of them is the Eye of Horus, and it kind of clicks in Patricia's head that it's familiar, but she can't quite place where she's seen it before. Back to Fabian and Nina, they basically convince Trudy that they should reset up the chandelier to like restore the house to its old beauty, which by the way, the fact that they had this old ass chandelier sitting somewhere in the house is fucking crazy. They say it's to restore the house, but in reality, it's to figure out the clue. They just don't know where it's going to be. Is it going to be through the stained glass window that they saw up in the attic or through the actual chandelier, aka Tears of Glass? So they decide to make a plan to separate. Fabian will be in the attic and Nina will be in the foyer with the chandelier when the sun begins to set. When the sun begins to set, it's actually Nina's spot in the foyer through the chandelier that is the correct place for Tears of Glass. And it basically like shoots a beam of light out to a spot in a panel, which Amber theorized, which Nina puts her locket against and opens to reveal another puzzle piece. OMG, look, you guys, it's another puzzle piece. Look at all of our little things that we're revealing slowly but surely. Sabuna is listening to the recordings again, and Sarah reveals that she's scared of him again. She then says he spends a lot of time in the cellar with the animals he stuffs, but what frightens me most is his raven, Corbière. So we might potentially be learning the identity of he, because who, who has a raven named Corbière? Who has a raven named Corbière? She also says that she's convinced that he killed her parents, and when she's about to say something again, he finally speaks, and we finally hear who he is, and it sounds a lot like Victor. Victor comes back to the house after Parents' Day is over, and he sees that the chandelier is restored, and he's like, yo, what the fuck? And Trudy's like, yeah, isn't it so cute? Like, Fabian and Nina are like little historians. Like, they restored this. And Victor's like, huh, that's kind of mad suspicious, but whatever. That night, Nina is using the restroom. All the girls use the same bathroom, and her locket falls out of the pocket of her robe. And remember, Renee showed Patricia pictures of something that she was supposed to recognize, and she recognizes vaguely the Eye of Horus. And she realizes in seeing her locket why she recognizes it, because it's Nina's locket. She calls Renee immediately to tell him about it. I think she either calls or texts him. Either way, she contacts Renee immediately to tell him about it. And he's basically like, yeah, you have to steal that. We need that. She attempts to steal it from Nina's robe while she's not in the room, but Amber ends up catching her. And like a slay queen she is, instead of defending Patricia, she's basically like, yep, Patricia tried to steal it from you. And Nina's kind of hurt because she thought her and Patricia were on good terms after Patricia realized she had nothing to do with Joy's disappearance. Remember when I said that Victor was suspicious of the chandelier going up? Yeah, he also kind of figures out the light path from the chandelier and goes to the panel that Nina was able to open and taps it to hear that it's hollow. But he can't get in because he doesn't have the locket. And Nina theorizes that this piece might be actually holding another riddle. She can't get it to open, but Fabian can. This riddle reads, Ket is the place to find, and there in the flames you must look behind. They are moving and shaking with whatever treasure they are finding. Like, literally, we're on episode 7, I believe, and they've already found 2 pieces and are well on their way to the third. The next day at school, Fabian has to bring something to Daphne, aka Miss Andrews, and catches her and Jason in a private little meeting talking about how they have a staff meeting later, which makes him kind of suspicious because why are you having a staff meeting that late at night? Sabuna is trying to crack this riddle here, and Amber figures out that Ket means fire or place of fire. So Nina theorizes that it could be the fireplace of one of which they have in the living room dining room area that they plan to go check. Victor randomly decides that he's going to set curfew an hour earlier that night, which is a little bit suspicious if you ask me, Victor, but I guess you can say what you want. Amber kept Patricia's secret about trying to take Nina's locket for a while, but eventually Amber relents and tells Nina that Patricia tried to steal it, and Nina is very hurt because she thought they were becoming friends, but her trying to steal the locket shows that they are not becoming friends at all. Remember that curfew Victor set? Well, outside of the kids, we actually get to witness why he set that curfew. That staff meeting talked about earlier is a meeting with all of the teachers at the school, plus Sergeant Roebuck and a few other people. That night, we witnessed the staff meeting that Daphne and Jason were talking about. Also, the reason why Victor set the curfew so early is because it's happening actively at Anubis' house. It's all of the teachers that we know are a part of it, plus some more, and they are wearing robes. They are chanting, and we see these little chips which have Anubis member names on it on this table. Victor then says that the chosen hour is approaching and that they will soon tip the scales of life. Remember when Sarah said that he wants to tip the scales of life? So we already think that Victor has been on the recordings. What could that possibly mean, Victor? Now, they are holding a meeting specifically that night to welcome their new 7th member into their club, who will replace the betrayer. This new member is Mr. Winkler, Jason, yeah. So the next day, Renee and Patricia meet up, and he asks her if she brought the locket, and she says no because she couldn't get it from Nina, and reveals that Nina said that she got it from a friend. Renee enforces that she needs to get that locket because if Nina has it, she might be a part of Joy's disappearance. One thing of which we've already ruled out. Nina herself, Trudy, and everybody else has already told Patricia that Nina is not a part of it, but he is worming his way into her mind and convincing her that Nina might be a part of it because she owns this locket. He plans to meet up with Patricia again, but she doesn't think that she can get the locket alone, so he basically tells her to bring Nina with her so that he can take the locket from her without there being any issue. Patricia then goes to class, and that class happens to be Daphne, aka Mrs. Andrews' class, and her phone vibrates with a text, and Daphne takes her phone away only to see the message is a text from RZ. Sabuna looks in the fireplace to see if the clue for Ket, place of fire, is actually going to follow through, and they end up finding nothing, so Nina suggests that they visit Sarah again to see if she can give any insight. Daphne then shows Victor the text message from RZ on Patricia's phone, and Victor says Rufus Zeno is back. Who the fuck is Rufus Zeno? When Sabuna arrives at the place that Sarah is staying, they go into her room and they see this man, Renee Zeldman, RZ, Rufus Zeno, in her room, which is further suspicious. He's basically trying to get Sarah to remember the good old days, but she can't because her memory is muddled, but she does remember his face. So that means that that man is somehow connected to her and maybe the whole thing that is going on right now with the treasure. That night at dinner, Patricia apologizes to Nina for trying to take her locket, And she basically is like, I'll tell you why I was trying to take it, but it has to be in private. And Nina, speaking to our Sabuna members, Fabian and Amber, theorizes that her locket might be able to open the oven door that was stuck. Remember when Trudy said that there was an oven door that was stuck? She theorizes that maybe her locket can open the oven door because oven, place of fire. She said, why not? We'll try that. And she's actually right. It does open the oven door, and they go down to the cellar, which is kind of like a lab. There's chemicals everywhere and stuffed animals everywhere. It is, and not like stuffed animals, I mean like stuffed animals. Like it's creepy. It looks like a mad scientist lab. They end up coming across something on the back wall, which is a ring with numbers inside. Yes, they found puzzle piece 3. They found puzzle piece 3. Ket, place of fire. Like slay. But while they're looking at all of this, Victor ends up coming down into the cellar. And they observe him like looking and admiring this liquid, to which he says there's so little left and then toasts to life and drinks it. After Victor leaves the cellar, Sabuna feels it's safe enough to leave the cellar as well. And as they're leaving, they hear a wail, which really freaks them out. And the next morning, Nina and Amber end up finding a cat, which they believe made the wail that they heard, even though I don't really think it sounds like a cat. And they believe that this cat might be Victor's and he might be doing something with it. So Amber makes a plan to stay home all day with the cat and watch over it to make sure that it's protected. At breakfast that same morning, Patricia finally sits down with Nina and tells her basically that the reason she wanted Nina's locket was because her friend, who is Rufus, Renee, RZ, thinks that it can be worth a lot of money, and she wants to take Nina to go meet with the friend to get a price on it. Nina's kind of reluctant at first, and Fabian doesn't want her to go, but she ends up deciding that she will go. But instead of taking the locket with her, she's going to leave it with Fabian. During the day while the other kids are at school and Amber is at home sick to watch this cat, she falls asleep and the door to her room opens and the cat ends up escaping. After class, Nina and Patricia go to meet Rufus, and when they go to meet Rufus, instead of actually being able to meet him, they see Victor dragging his lifeless body into a van. So now they truly do believe that Victor has something to do with Joy's murder, and they're even more worried that she may be dead because it literally looks like he murdered Rufus. They go back to the house and they meet up with Fabian and Amber, and Sabuna and Patricia basically swap all the information of what they know. Patricia, all of the information about Joy, the phone, the photo, Jason Winkler, all of that stuff, and Sabuna, all of their treasure pieces so far, and the mystery and the riddles, as well as Sarah. They tell Patricia about the elixir as well that they saw Victor drinking, and they throw around the idea that maybe this elixir is what's keeping Victor young. Because remember, we also heard his voice on one of the recordings that Sarah had on the cylinders, so now they're starting to think that maybe Victor is using this elixir to stay young. After losing the cat, it's next day at school. Amber goes off in her class with Mr. Sweet, of all people, about elixirs and live and experiments and stuff. But Mr. Sweet does not clock this because all of these teachers think that Amber is stupid. But she's really like in on their plan and they just don't know it. Like Amber also starts to believe that he is in Victor is using this cat for experiments. So Fabian finally relents and gets the Sabuna members to agree that they probably need to tell an adult, but they just don't know who yet. And in an effort to find the cat that disappeared while Amber was sleeping, Patricia and Amber go back down to the cellar, and instead of finding the cat, they find a stuffed cat. So they now believe that Victor has murdered this cat because he caught on to what they were doing. They are so distressed and they finally decide that the person they're going to tell all of this information to, Joy's disappearance, the treasure, the elixir, the cellar, everything, is Miss Trudy. At school, Fabian is studying this ring, which has numbers on the inside of it, and he can't seem to crack what it is. But because he's doing it in broad daylight and in the middle of a common area, Jerome walks in on him trying to figure out all these numbers and points out that the most repeated numbers on the ring sequence is 1, 2, and 9. At the same time, Jason, Mr. Winkler, is talking about doing a school play. He's the history teacher and he's also the drama teacher, and he suggests that they do a play on Egypt. And Amber makes up this whole story, which is basically Sarah's life about the Frobisher Smites. And she's like, yes, yes, like this is perfect. We should write about this little girl whose parents go on this epic expedition and die, and this evil man takes over her house and blah 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 and everything. And Jason's like, actually, that's kind of slay. And Amber's like, yes, slay. Nina can write it. So now Nina is tasked with writing the school play about Sarah's life. That night after school, Sabuna, Patricia, and Trudy all go to Victor to confront him about the elixir, the cellar, and the cat. And though Trudy's trying to be nice about it, she wants to stick up for these kids more, which is a great thing because remember, they literally had fucking nobody here. Anyways, Victor is so offended by the accusation that he could have done anything like this that he leads all of them down to the cellar to show that he is not a murderer and that there is no lab down there. Literally, they get down there and everything is cleared out. Everything is gone. All of the stuffed animals that were down there, the tables, the potions, all of it's gone. And in place of it is the cat. The cat is well and alive. I don't know where he got this cat. I don't know if it's the same cat as earlier, but basically everything that they had told Trudy ended up being like a lie. And Victor is so disgraced by that that he ends up firing Trudy. So now the kids truly have no one at Anubis to trust with any of these secrets. And they also feel really bad because they just got this super sweet woman fired. And this is only going to bite them in the ass. Now that Trudy is gone, Victor is in charge of the house entirely. He's in charge of the meals, he's in charge of the laundry, and for safety purposes, he installs security cameras, meaning that Sabuna cannot operate the way that they used to. These cameras run 24/7. Victor has a constant surveillance on them, so they can't sneak around to figure out any of these or find new clues if they potentially bust whatever this is. So they feel sad because they can't do their treasure hunting, and Patricia still can't reach Rufus, which is only further fueling that they think that Victor had something to do with Joy's disappearance. It's literally like a murder plot is unraveling. On this Nickelodeon show, a murder plot is unraveling. So Patricia is finally brought into Sabuna, so let's put her up in our little Sabuna members thing. Kids end up trying to stage a peaceful protest against the cameras, and it doesn't really work, but it is important to note that they are fighting these cameras and they firing of Trudy very hard. That night before curfew happens, Nina and Fabian meet up to talk about some research that she had done, and she reveals that the Frobisher Smythes, Sarah's parents, the owners of this house, participated in an expedition to find King Tut's tomb. They ended up finding it, but some things were maybe kind of stolen, and the Frobisher Smythes were maybe kind of guilty, but they were actually found not guilty because none of the items were ever found. So Fabian and Nina start to theorize that maybe the things that they were finding are from King Tut's tomb. They just don't know what or how. The kids try yet again to stage another sit in to get the cameras down and Trudy back, but it doesn't end up working because Jerome, Mara, Alfie, Mick, and Amber all leave with the fear that Victor is going to like ground them or give them detention or something. So only Patricia, Fabian, and Nina kind of stick together in this. This is going to create like another little cute trio that I love. I do like this trio a lot more than I like this trio, but it still eats. In a plotline for Mick, he wants to do like this sports thing because he's athletic. So his father stops by the school to like meet up with him to talk about it. And while he's there, Amber kind of like weasels her way into talking about everything that's going on inside of Anubis' house. At the same time, Fabian is also solving the clue that this ring brings, and the clue was the year 1922, which was the same year that King Tut's tomb was founded. So they're going to start looking around the house for things that might say 1922 or hope that gives them some type of clue to find the next puzzle piece. Nina and Fabian are still at Anubis' house because, unlike the other kids, they didn't leave. They're still staging the sit in. But they figured that the clue is somewhere in the house, and they actually noticed that on the sarcophagus in the foyer is a little plaque that says 1922. The only problem is the cameras that Victor put up, so they can't go looking through it. So Fabian comes up with this plan to cover the camera with like his sweater. They wear sweaters over their button ups and distracted Victor long enough when he comes to uncover the camera so that Nina can have an opportunity to get under the plaque of the sarcophagus. Remember when I said that Amber was talking to Mick's dad about everything that was going on? Yeah, so she was actually telling him about the cameras and Trudy's firing, and Mick's dad gives a lot of money, a lot of shmoney to this school. They're very rich. So when he complains to Mr. Sweet about the cameras and Trudy's firing, Mr. Sweet has no choice but to tell Victor to get rid of the cameras and reinstate Trudy. So Trudy is back and the cameras are going down. I know, such a wonderful plot line that lasted an episode. Nina and Fabian were right about the tiny compartment having a clue. So let's reveal that next clue because it reveals a riddle. Be leathered and clasp. Here's the only place where yesterday follows tomorrow. So this is the new clue. I don't know why I did that. Nina believes that this clue could possibly be one of the old books that is stored under the stairs where the chandelier was. She noticed them when they were taking the chandelier out to restore it to find this piece. So she thinks that it may be under there. After having to take the cameras down and reinstate Trudy, Sweet and Daphne call Victor to Sweet's office to talk about how the cameras were a bad idea, and Victor basically implies that he needs to watch the Anubis kids. They're up to something, he knows it, he just can't prove it, and the cameras were supposed to help him solve that. Miss Andrews redefines the point that Mick's dad pays a lot of money to the school, and when he threatened to pull out his funding, it was going to be a big issue. Victor doesn't really care, but he is reminded that Mick's dad's money fund his research. While looking under the stairs, Sabuna is not able to find like a leathered and clasped book. So they think they're running out of hope, but Nina ends up finding like a box of pictures, and specifically a picture from 1952 that has Victor in it. And he looks exactly the same, thus confirming their theory that the elixir that Victor was drinking is a immortality elixir. Fabian also finds a book under the stairs that is about time travel and believes that maybe that could be helpful in solving the clue. Yesterday follows tomorrow. Time travel. Amber wants to go to somebody about Victor's everlasting existence, but they don't think the photos are good enough proof because you can doctor photos. Sabuna plans to go back down to the cellar to get like a sample of the elixir, and because yet again these kids are being loud as hell, Jerome overhears them, so this kind of starts his suspiciousness towards the Sabuna kids, something that is going to reoccur from now on. It kind of started when Fabian was solving this little thing here, but now that he's hearing them talk about going down to the cellar and everything, Jerome's getting a little suspicious. He's getting a little Jeromey. That night, Sabuna does travel down to the cellar, and they find everything put back into place that had been taken out of place. Everything that Victor had taken time to move and remove is back where it needs to be, which is literally crazy. Like, imagine having that much time on your hands. Like, are you not trying to do your little thing? And you have enough time to move all of those fucking tables, all of those potions. While trying to find the elixir, Sabuna is kind of confused because they don't exactly remember what kind of bottle he was drinking out of. And remember, there's a lot of potions down there. Like, this table is full of potions. And while they're trying to find an elixir, they hear Screech, turn around, and zombies are coming at them. Yes, the show has zombies. I'm kidding. No, it was actually a prank by Jerome and Alfie. When Jerome overheard their plan to go down to the cellar, they found another way to sneak in and decided to scare them. Sabuna actually does get a sample of whatever they think the elixir is, but they need to get it tested somehow, but also don't feel safe leaving it in the bottle that they collected the sample from. So Patricia ends up putting this in like a fruit juice bottle that she has for safekeeping, and she's going to keep it on her so that no one searches their room and finds it. Because they have this elixir and they don't really know what to do with it, they want to send it off to a university, but they're not entirely sure yet. Nina plans to go ask Sarah more about it to see if she knows anything. This same time, this is going to seem irrelevant. I promise it's very relevant. Jerome and Alfie are playing a prank on the younger years, and they end up getting caught, and it ends up biting them in the ass. So they get humiliated by Mr. Winkler and plan their revenge. While Nina is visiting Sarah, she asks her about the elixir of life, and Sarah is like, I don't want to live forever. She's not really answering Nina's questions, but she is kind of hinting with saying she doesn't want to live forever, that this elixir could very much exist. Sarah also remembers Rufus from the other day, and she mentions that they used to play together when they were little, kind of raising suspicion in Nina's mind that Rufus might be also drinking the elixir of life. Nina shows Sarah a picture of Victor, And Sarah kind of freaks out and says that he is him. You know, this illustrious he, him that we've been talking about? Sarah is now confirming that it is, in fact, Victor. She also says that he wants to tip the scales of life, which she has said before in reference to him. So now we know that Victor is not only the he, him who she believes killed her parents, he is also the he, him who wants to tip the scales of life. He wants to stay forever, and Nina has to stop him. Nina brings all this information back to the other Sabuna members, and at the same time, Alfie and Jerome are planning their retaliation for the humiliating thing that Mr. Winkler did. So their plan is to scare the younger years by dressing up in their zombie masks that they wore when they were pranking Sabuna in the cellar. And remember that little time travel book that I mentioned earlier that Fabian thought would be the answer to this clue? Yeah, it was a bust. So Sabuna is yet again at a loss of what to do. During play rehearsal, Amber kind of name drops Miss Sarah because remember, this whole play is about Sarah's life and the Frobisher Smythes' whole adventure into King Tut's tomb. And Fabian and Nina must quickly cover up her little slip up. After Amber's reveal, Sabina kind of pulls her aside and is basically like, why would you do that? And she reveals that this whole play now is being used as a way to get a rise out of Victor to see if any of this is like going to make him react because they want to know his involvement. There's all of these bits and pieces that are basically making him out to be a murderer. Sarah has said that he killed her parents. Rufus Zeno's lifeless body was dragged into the back of a van, and Joy has mysteriously disappeared with Victor recovering every track he can. So they're using this story and using a kind of character of him to kind of get a rise out of him to see what he will do. And now back to Alfie and Jerome. I know there's a lot of jumping around. Everything's happening at the same time. While getting ready to do their prank on the younger years, Alfie realizes that he doesn't have a zombie mask and figures that he probably dropped it after scaring Sabuna in the cellar last night. So him and Jerome must go back. Alfie's going to go into the cellar and Jerome is going to keep watch to make sure that no one catches them. However, Jerome gets caught by Victor and basically strands Alfie in the cellar. So Alfie's stuck in the cellar for like hours, I think because Victor ends up punishing Jerome, and Jerome has literally no way to get back down there except through, they go through like a window. And when he hears someone coming down to the cellar, he believes that Jerome has come to get him to remove him from the cellar, but that is not true. He's actually witnessing the meeting that we talked about a few episodes ago earlier in the video. It basically traumatizes him. This meeting that he witnesses is the official initiation of Mr. Winkler into this weird thing that we don't have a name for yet that Victor is a part of. But in a rare moment of goodness, Jerome cannot sleep that night as he is restless because he is worried about Alfie, who is stuck down in the cellar. And he knows that Fabian has access to the cellar, so wakes him up in the middle of the night and basically is like, Alfie's still down there. You have to let me get down there. And they both wake up Nina, who has the locket to unlock the door to the cellar, and all of them go down there to retrieve Alfie to find him in a state of shock. He's not able to process a coherent thought. He's shaking, he's scared, and they bring him back up to bed to kind of hope that he'll sleep whatever this is off. But the next morning, he's still not okay. He's still in this state of shock. Jerome is still worried, and he gets Nina and Fabian from breakfast again and brings them in, and the whole of Sabuna goes into Alfie's room, and he's having like these flashbacks of what he witnessed, and they're like, Alfie, like, tell us what's going on, Alfie. And he starts to like hyperventilate and go into shock, and they're like, he needs water. And in a panic, Nina reaches into Patricia's bag and grabs the juice bottle with the elixir and gives it to Alfie, which only worsens his condition. It's like he's having this somewhat allergic reaction to everything going on, and he ends up passing out from it, which freaks everybody out. They go get Trudy, and Alfie ends up getting taken to the hospital because they're not sure what he ingested or what happened. And Sabuna uses this to get the elixir and the juice bottle tested to see what's going on because they're like, oh, what did he drink? And Nina hands over the bottle, hoping that the hospital will test whatever it is and tell them what's inside of it. Victor then decides that he needs to interrogate all of the members in Anubis' house to see what is going on, and no one really cracks, not even Jerome, who is in a state of pure guilt. It was his negligence that left Alfie down there to witness whatever he witnessed and led to him getting sick. Also, Nina feels very, 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 very guilty about giving Alfie the bottle of elixir because it could potentially, one, make him live forever, or two, kill him because he had that allergic reaction. And in response to almost killing Alfie, she leaves Sabuna. She leaves Sabuna. I should also mention that she didn't give away the entirety of the elixir. They do save it in a small bottle, which Patricia hides in like a toilet tank. Another thing that I want to note while looking at my notes is that Brad Kavanen, who plays Fabian, was eating. He was eating. I'm going to insert this little clip of him acting. Also, don't come for me if the voiceover is in Dutch. This is a very clear picture of the House of Anubis, and I'm going to use it.
Я нашла цилиндры, Пенди.
Не говори так.
Ну, капитан Нина, Фабиан не может разгадать загадку, я дозвониться до Руфуса, а Элфи выбраться из больницы.
Я чувствую какой-то...
It is finally revealed what Alfie drank through Victor, so unreliable narrator there, and he tells the kids of Anubis' house that Alfie basically drank cleaning fluid. And so Sabuna feels that it's safe enough to meet back up to try to figure out this clue. Remember, we're missing one of our Sabuna members. So they're in Amber and Nina's room trying to figure this out. Patricia brings up a dictionary. I don't remember the exact dialogue, but she brings up a dictionary, and Nina's like, yes, like a dictionary. That makes sense. Like, tomorrow follows yesterday. And she gets kind of excited, but she's like, but remember, I'm not helping. Like, I'm not in Anubis anymore. Like, remember that. But Fabian does use this to persuade her back into Sabuna, so. Oh, shooty toots. Oh, shooty toots, Nina. Not even in a whole episode, and she's already back. But I'm glad she's back. I love that photo of her. Jerome wants to go visit Alfie in the hospital, and Patricia wants to use this as an opportunity to see what Alfie saw. So when they go to the hospital to figure everything out, Alfie basically tells them that he doesn't remember anything. And Patricia also tries to press the nurse that is working with Alfie about what happened, and she just basically says that it was an allergic reaction. Nina and Fabian try the clue of a dictionary, and they end up kind of figuring out that maybe, just maybe, it isn't an English dictionary, it is an Arabic dictionary, which does actually lead them somewhere. However, the dictionary is hard to open, so Nina suggests using her locket, because remember, that bitch is a key to everything. Since Nina suggested that they use the locket to open the dictionary, for some reason Amber tries to use the locket to open the dictionary and it doesn't work, meaning that Miss Nina is the only one who can use the power of the locket to open anything. They open the dictionary, the Arabic dictionary, and they find nothing. Patricia is walking around the hospital to kind of investigate something. I think she said she was going to go get something from the vending machine or whatever. And while she's walking around, she comes across the nurse that is working with Alfie pushing Rufus in a wheelchair. So she uses this opportunity to distract the nurse and basically kidnap Rufus. She takes him to this bike shed where she calls the Sabuna members to meet there. When Rufus wakes up from being asleep, because he was like kind of unconscious the entire time that Patricia was bringing him to this bike shed, he wakes up and reveals that he believes that Joy is in danger and that him and Sarah actually used to be friends. So there's that connection, and that Miss Nina needs to give this locket back. And she basically tells him no, because remember, Sarah told her that this locket is hers and to protect it. Next morning at breakfast, Patricia decides to bring Rufus some food, sustenance, and goes into the bike shed to find him gone. So he is gone again. He likes to evade everybody. He does not like to stay in the same place. Nina and Fabian are still trying to figure out the whole hollowed out dictionary, and Nina suggests that maybe the clue will be revealed if they shine a light on it. Alfie is now back at the Anubis house, and Amber kind of feels bad that he got hurt, so she's kind of like waiting hand and foot on him. And she tries to get more information out of Alfie, but again, he doesn't remember anything. So she believes that if she hypnotizes him, she can get something out of him. And she's like hypnotizing him in this school, or trying to. And Alfie's like joking and playing and going along with it. And he ends up like scaring Amber, and she reacts by like pushing him into the lockers, which makes him hit his head and remember something. He says he remembers a really scary face. So Nina was actually right. The light used on the dictionary actually does reveal a clue. So let's reveal the next clue. Okay, this is our fifth riddle. our fifth riddle so far. Under the eyes of Horus, a globe and hollow lie, two right for eternity, but just one left to die. Ominous. Fabian kind of figures this clue out pretty quickly, or at least theorizes on this clue pretty quickly. So he notices that it says under the eyes and not just the eye. And remember earlier in the video when he said that he thought all of the cutouts on the stairs looked like Nina's eye locket? Well, he theorizes that maybe this clue yet again might lead them to stairs. So Fabian was right about it being on the stairs. They go to the stairs and they notice like these globes at the end on the bottom, and they tap both of them to see which one is hollow. And for the hollow one, they turn it to right for eternity, and it ends up like pulling up and revealing a piece. But you're gonna have to give me a second. Okay, listen, I didn't plan this out too great. So it reveals this piece. This piece. It's also not a great picture of it. It'll make more sense. It'll make more sense further down the road. I promise. I promise. Okay, they find this piece. They find this piece at the bottom of the stairs. But yet again, Fabian and Nina are the loudest motherfuckers on the entire planet, and instead of getting away this time, they actually do get caught by Victor. He catches them. And because they're being loud and because he caught them, he actually confiscates the piece.
Girl, what the
They worked so hard to not have this happen, and they got the fucking piece taken away. Anyways, they got the piece taken away, and when Victor like has it, he realizes what it is, and he kind of stops and he's like, it's not possible, and he's distraught. I literally think if I remember it correctly, I'll leave the scene in. He's literally like, no, like on the stairs. This is